Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you guys are in the United States and Canada today. Welcome to your Tuesday Masterclass. It is going to be a great one. Like I was saying before the recording started, man, we show up to work every day, right? And one of the biggest things that we neglect to do is build a business. So we brought Andrew Becker on here today. Michelle is going to introduce him in a minute. Before we do, though, I got a couple of things that I want to go over with you guys. Number one, Blair's going to put in the chat group right now. I know how a lot of you guys are messaging me every day looking for a role play partner. Cooley, can you hook me up with a role play partner? What we've done is we've started a 12 o'clock role play session every single day. And how that's going to work is I'm going to jump on there maybe for about 5 minutes, guys. We're going to go over what objections we're going to be role playing. Blair's going to hit a button and you guys are going to be broken out into groups of two, right? So you'll have your individual role play partner every single day at noon if you guys just jump on that Zoom link, right? And obviously now more than ever, guys, you're going to get the spring objection over and over and over and over again over the next couple of months. So that for all of us should be a primary focus. I'm getting hit up in my DMs every single day going, hey, Cooley, just got the spring objection twice today, got 2 listing appointments, right? And so if we're going to thrive in the fall, guys, we got to be prepared for the most common objection. And it's really not an objection. It's just something that they're considering without having had your professional advice yet. You know what I mean? So let's take that part seriously. That's available every day at noon. The Zoom link is in the chat group. So there is that. Also, Conversion King is tomorrow, and Chris Hardy's going to be piggybacking off of the Breakfast Club and off of the spring objection. So I need 3 co-founder agents, 3 of us to join Conversion King tomorrow and to volunteer. So if you guys want that spotlight, DM me so that we can get you over to Chris Hardy and have you participating. But as Nick Diaz said, or Nate Diaz, don't be scared, homie, right? If you want to rise to the level that you want to rise to, you're going to have to put yourself out there, right? You're going to have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions. That's how we grow. And it's okay to make mistakes in front of a lot of people because there's nobody on this Zoom call, if you don't hit your goals, that are going to pay your bills for you. So constantly get uncomfortable, constantly level up, and constantly grow. Also, fall domination started yesterday. Your weekly fall domination plans, I need those in my inbox. A lot of you guys have sent those out already, but man, if you want to have a great week, guys, you got to plan it out the day before, right? The day before the week starts, and just set the tone. Go into it with intent, with a plan of action that you could either fail at and grow the next week, or you can execute perfectly and hit your numbers. This season, guys, if you do the same thing that you did in the summer, you're going to get less results than you got in the summer. Meaning you're going to have to do more just to get the same result. Okay. So if you want to excel and separate yourself and take market share in the fall, you got to do things a little bit different. And it starts with that fall domination plan. Michelle's got one more thing that she wants to go over with Hannah Price. Michelle, can you give that to him?
Yeah, just one announcement there, guys, and I'll drop it into the chat. So any of you guys that don't know, Hannah Price, part of our co-founders community, amazing, huge badass in our industry. She's spoken live at a lot of our events out of Clarksville, Tennessee. So this is something she's been actually working on for a while. It's been a big project that she just launched. And yes, this is for all of the mamas out there, all the women out there specifically. But how do she's been for 10 years now selling over 150 homes a year. And something that's very heavy is, well, how do you juggle life, right? Being married, she has 3 young children, very young children. How do you follow that drive and that ambition to run something so successful while also making sure you can maintain your life? So she's rolling out not only all of her real estate secrets of how she runs her business, but she's creating a community that's meeting once a month. It is virtual, it's online, anyone can be a part of it. So you have people to lean on, to learn from, on how do you fulfill both sides of your passions, of your life, of your business, if that makes sense. So for any of you guys that resonates with, I posted this actually on my feeds yesterday, so you guys can see kind of her whole messaging there. And it kicks off next week. So I'm going to drop this down. Romy, this is something we should chat about later because I know you're part of some big communities. It's going to be super powerful, you guys. Again, especially those of you who know Hannah Price. It's going to be pretty awesome. So I just
And this
dropped that.
is this
Always
is
feeling left out right
specifically
now.
this is specifically for women and moms. And so if you're a man, just go fuck yourself, right? Like we always do. Just hide it deep down
There's,
inside you, right? And just keep it just hidden. You know what I mean?
there's
Just
not
push it down there and we'll get through it like we always do.
there's
We're
not
just
many
gonna truck
times
on, man.
not many
Huh?
times I trade places with a female, but to be in that mastermind, I would.
Yeah, right. Hannah Price
Just
is an
luck.
absolute gangster, guys. And so if you guys are struggling with that day to day and you guys are trying to find that balance, right? Make sure that you join that because she's an
And it's
absolute gangster.
Yeah, it's having people to lean on, and I think another thing is how do we help people speed up that process so we can have our time back and we can create better leverage. It's all the same concepts of everything we do here with you guys in our community, but getting very strategic, right? What can we do? What can our mentality be? And how do we speed up the process of all the things that we're building? So I love it. You guys have it in the link there. Let me know if you have any questions. So to kick us off, I'm going to do an intro here and then Cooley will roll in. So if you guys can see our guest of honor he's on my top left up here, Andrew Becker. I also want to highlight Amber. Where are you on my screen? You'll see Amber Billions. Your last name is going to be Billions today, Amber. I don't see it anymore. You were on here. I can't find you.
She's
Anyway,
here. Trust me.
On the second page, I think.
okay, I'm gonna introduce our guests, you guys. So you guys saw us send out our promotions, saw us send out our flyers. We're really excited. There's been a lot of things in the works. Andrew, and unless it's been longer, I think since the very start of this year, unless it's even been longer than that, but I know since probably even January, like we've been collaborating, figuring out how we're going to work together, build together. So Andrew is officially part of our co-founders community. We're really excited, you guys, because he brings
Let's go. He's
he
part of
brings
us. He's now one of us, ladies and
brings
gentlemen.
One of us.
brings such a
That one of us.
he brings Nick in his apron is like killing me. He brings such a unique addition to our community, which is what we're really excited to announce for you guys today. Not only the introduction class we're going to be doing just to give you guys a lot of value, but a series that we're rolling out that will kind of explain when that started and everything. So Andrew comes from you guys 11 years running one of the top teams in the Washington, D.C. market. That's a super competitive market up there. If you guys know, he's got thousands of deals under his belt. So where his niche is, hence the title of what we're working on today, is 1,000,000% workflows, operations, profitability, scalability. And you guys all know what I mean with some of his stats here that I'm going to give you, right? So he was able to take his team. These numbers might be wild to you guys. You're like, I don't even know what that is. From 11.1% to 36.6% with his systems in profitability, you guys. And I know, again, I might go over some of your heads if you're not coming from, I'm letting in one of our giant team leaders right now, which is good, Andrew, for them to hear this. This is where they get a lot lost, right? People don't realize that brokerages run on like 9-10% profit margins, and that's good. Okay, I just want to emphasize that real estate agents are the number one culprits for having no idea how to run their business as a business. Number one, okay. Team leaders and owners are running on less than 10% profit margins in a lot of cases, which is kind of wild. So Andrew is the CEO and co-founder of two real estate companies, Billions and Brighter. We'll be talking about those and how they are leveraged in the real estate industry. He hosts a really cool podcast. I don't know if you guys seen some of that on my feed, the Team Lead Talks podcast. And his background just gets more and more interesting. So Andrew, I'm just going to share some of this. He worked at the Pentagon for 7 years, right? Supporting US nuclear weapons and a bunch of stuff that has to do with that is way too complicated for me, which is pretty awesome. And was an Air Force civilian for 4 out of those 7 years. So really smart guy. He's got a lot of really cool stuff we're going to share with you guys. But again, leading to how do we help agents? How do we help everybody in this industry really lead their business as an actual business? And how do we give you guys the actual systems that you can implement to make it into more profitable, right? How do you actually scale it? How do you actually organize your business? So there's an entire kind of funnel to all of this. And I also want to introduce his also co-founders of Billions, Amber, who you guys can see her on here. She comes from, running their operations, also working within the government and nonprofits, different leadership roles and all sorts of things within the community and the real estate industry. So Amber, we're excited to have you on here as well.
You're making him sound like CIA, Michelle. Andrew
know
works
that
for the
was all.
Pentagon. Amber
I
works for the
know.
government.
I
What are
know.
we actually doing here?
So yeah, long story short, Nick, right? Andrew's really cool and he's a super smart guy. And yes, you want to listen. So Cooley, anything else? And then we'll kind of
Yeah,
leave.
I would just say, when you guys are out there in the Instagram ether, right? You see all these really highly productive agents and these highly productive teams, right? You're like, oh, that person does 300 deals a year. If you peel back the curtain, right? Because Michelle and I talk to a lot of people, what you'll find is a lot of these really productive agents aren't even profitable. Like they're doing a lot of deals, but they're not making any money. You know what I mean? And the same thing is true with your individual agents. You see some agents who are doing 200 deals a year, right? But they're dead broke, their credit sucks, right? They're constantly underwater, and it's because they're not running a business, right? And one of the biggest reasons why we brought these guys in here today, not only are they co-founders, and we're going to be running a series on this weekly, guys. So Andrew's going to be with us weekly, but we need to make sure that all of our agents actually, number one, understand their business, right? Number two, understand their profitability. Number three, know how to scale their profitabilities to where they're out there doing deals. They're building a business and making money and building profit. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to say that because, the number one thing that you can't do is neglect your business and neglect growing or paying attention to your business. And I think it's widely overlooked in real estate. You always hear people say that, but they rarely have any actual ongoing training with that. So we're pleased to have Andrew Becker here today and Amber, and I'm excited to get going. How you doing, Andrew? You ready to go today? Long
Yeah, man.
introduction.
Thank you for that good
16 minutes.
intro. I appreciate it. And it's good to see some familiar faces from my time up in New Jersey when I went to my first co-founders event there. So I'm excited to jump in.
All right.
So
So
I'm gonna
Michelle,
do
go ahead,
yeah,
Andrew.
a couple things. I just wanted to kind of take everyone's pulse right here. If you are already profitable and you know it, can you say profit in the chat? And then if you're almost profitable, looking towards profitability, can you say almost? I kind of just want to get to see, what we're starting with. And then I'm gonna share a link where you can follow along in this discussion in the chat too. Hopefully it doesn't get lost in the chat, but I just posted. Oh no, Michelle or Cooley, can you pin that somehow? Or if anyone can grab it, make a copy. You can follow along. You can print it out and you can take notes in it. This copy is designed for you. And then each week I'll be providing another workshop with the same workbook copy. So you can use this to grow and build your company along the way. So I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me just move my video out of the way. So like Michelle had talked about, I started a company back in 2013 in the DC market. We serviced Virginia, Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland, and Washington, DC. And we were struggling at the very early onset of our company from a capital perspective or money, right, to keep the lights on. Our goal was always to build a team, which we wound up doing, but we didn't start there. So the idea here is I'm going to teach you kind of an overarching framework today. And then as we meet week after week, I'll deep dive into a certain aspect of it that you can use in your own business to grow week over week over week based on my best practices, lessons learned. So like Michelle said, I took a company with, I think at the time we had like 30 agents. At that time, we were doing like 20, 30 deals a month. And we took it from 11.1% to 36.6%. So when you think about that, that's a 3x difference, right? A 3x increase. So on $1 million gross revenue, that's the difference between $110,000 profit and $360,000 profit. So it can make quite the difference. So my point here today is there is a profit light at the end of the tunnel, but I didn't make it happen overnight. It took a long, long time, but I'm going to share everything I can to help you better your business starting right now and today. So this is something that requires really hard work, consistent hard work for that. And then what you can take from me today is you can model what I've done here in my market with my team and my business, and then you can modify it or customize it for however you do your own business. And I would love this to be an interactive engagement today. So if you do have, I'm sharing my screen, so it's kind of hard to see the chat, but if you have any questions, Please feel free to write them in the chat, and Michelle and Cooley will hopefully be helping me monitor the questions. So feel free to interrupt you guys if there are any clarifying questions or just any questions that you think I need to address. And then at the end of this, if I didn't get to your question, Michelle's going to provide me with the chat, and I will answer those questions afterwards. And in our review email that we'll send out after this, all of those questions that were asked will be answered. So that's the setup here, and then what to expect next, you guys. Cooley kind of alluded to this, but Michelle or Cooley, do you want to tell them what's going to happen?
Yeah, so starting you guys, just so you have a date and something to plan for. So this is going to be integrated live on the co-founders calendar. You guys will all see that after we end today. It's starting, it's a new series that's kicking off October 2nd. And so you guys are going to get the kind of higher level framework as you're seeing from Andrew now, and then it's going to be a hyper deep dive tactically on each one of these segments. Starting on Thursday the 2nd, which we're super, super excited. So you guys
So
are gonna
just like we have the Breakfast Club, Conversion King, this is going to be added to our calendar, guys, as another piece of value to you so that you're not just taking one masterclass, right? And hopefully you get it. It's a weekly series where we're doing a deep dive to make sure that every single week you're doing things that are making your business more profitable, building systems, and really excelling, guys, because we got to make sure we all know that we're in it for the long haul, right? These things are really important. It's going to require you to try to see past your next deal, right? And understand that you got to lay a foundation. Otherwise, it's on a pillar of sand, right? And we know how that works. So I'm excited for that, guys. And we'll get you all the information and the flyer out here shortly. Andrew.
Yeah, the idea is to kind of piggyback off what Cooley just said is to not just kind of rush towards your next transaction closing, but to really set that framework into play here. I don't know, Cooley or Michelle, did we tell everyone the name yet, or are we holding off on that?
No.
It's called
Does
the
it matter?
Profit Engine, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to be revving it up every single week. That's the catchphrase, Andrew. I think I just made it up.
Yeah, that was not
Cool,
bad.
yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll add that to the logo. Cool.
Yeah, so it's the new Profit Engine series. So you guys will all see it on all the materials going out live after this.
Cool. So you guys, I'm gonna kind of just overview again at the 80,000 foot level, what a profitable business should be set up like for me. Again, take this for what it's worth, use it in your business anywhere and everywhere you can, but then modify it to how you actually run things. So at a very, very, very high level, there are three components to any real estate business or a sales business for that matter. But we have a launch phase. So in this launch phase is where you do your planning of what you're going to be doing to get leads, right? So that could be a direct mail piece, a website, SEO, PPC, whatever the planning is. So you want to start there. And part of what we'll do today is I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the education part here. But then each week I'm going to dive super deep into the launch phase, plan cycle, execution cycle, and then you can have a lot of great takeaways and tactics to use in your own business. And then you want to, so after the planning stage is complete, you're going to execute or, send your mailers out, and you need a way to organize yourself. So we'll be talking about that, in the next few minutes here. And then there's this next phase of your business component where you're going to start to analyze. I'll teach you where and how you can do that. But essentially, what you want to be able to do is know, like, if you send out a postcard or you send out a direct mail piece, how many leads are you getting from that? How many appointments from those leads? How many of those appointments are converting? And then it'll start to really form this really crystal clear picture once you have that set of what's working and most importantly, what is not working. And if you have ambitions to grow a team one day, who is working and who is not working. So we'll get into that as well. So from the analysis of what is going on in any given day, we're going to talk optimizing. So how do you really know and put a fence around the lead sources that are returning you the most amount of revenue? That's incredibly important. And then through all of this, how do you take the human element out of that and automate the process so you don't have to be in the weeds doing this manually anymore? We'll talk about that as well. So after the first two phases here, components are set up and kind of rolling, you're going to enter in what I like to call the growth stage or the stable state, where you're going to be able to predict based on real tangible data from the prior quarter, the prior 6 months, the prior year, year to date, whatever you want to look at, to start to scale appropriately and with a sniper rifle approach. So that, takes consistent work in your business, working on these foundations. But from that, you'll see an overall increase in efficiency, optimization, and then almost the indirect or the secondary tertiary effects of having these components set up the way I'm planning to teach is increased profit margins. So as you're operating, as you're optimizing, as you're scaling, profit kind of just happens naturally through what we're going to teach you in this framework. So any questions about the components of a business? Again, I can't see the chat. Cooley, anything to address before we kind of hop in here?
This is
Not yet,
money.
no. Nick says that this is money.
Let's go.
Okay, awesome. I
It's
love it.
everything nobody talks about.
Okay,
Exactly.
so as you think about, and I hope people have made copies of this too, because I would love you to reference it as kind of like the foundation framework that I'll share with you, document that I'll share with you. But as you are thinking about these 3 components of a business, there are underlying or overarching guiding principles that you want to be thinking about in your mind all the time. And Amber, feel free to jump in here. I know we're going to get to some of the techie stuff here soon. I can't see you, so just feel free to start talking if you want. But the guiding principles, as you're thinking about each of these phases, the launch phase, the improvement cycle, or the growth stage, you also want to be thinking about this. And this is where the true optimization and running your business like a business comes into play here. So there's the automation part about it. So I study a lot, I read a lot about CEOs at scale, and honestly, your business should look boring from an internal operations perspective. When it looks boring, you're doing the same repeatable, predictable stuff internally. I'm not saying like your marketing should look boring. Any external public facing stuff should be cool as shit, be awesome, have people who want to directly respond to you. I'm talking about the internal team or internal processes that you are doing as a solo agent or with a partner. So it should be repeatable and predictable. When it's repeatable and predictable, you're minimizing that human error to make a mistake somewhere. And when you're repeating the same thing over and over again, you're referencing a document. I like to call them, Cooley, what do you call your SOPs? I call them playbooks. Do you have a name for them?
SOPs.
Okay, so standard operating procedures. And this should be a super interesting class to teach, and I think you'll like it. But every time we do something new in any of our companies, we ask ourselves, is there a playbook for it? If there's not, we will create one, and then we'll start to codify or write down whatever it is we're doing and the steps. That makes it so if I need Cooley to do, a social media post, I can share a playbook with him, for example, and 80% of it gets done, which is 100% awesome. I took that from one of my SaaS coaches, Dan Martell. But if you codify or write down every step and organize it, and I'll be teaching this too, in a way where as you are thinking through your org chart and your hiring and your team members, it's easily accessible. So someone can just put it on repeat. And then what happens at the tail end, if a mistake is made, Cooley, what does it leave you, right? It leaves you with the ability to audit via checklist to say, hey, Cooley, these 4 things had to happen. Did you do 1? Did you do 2? Did you do 3? Oh, no, I didn't do step number 3. Okay, well, that's where that happened. The difference between that and Cooley doing it one way, Jonathan doing another, Mr. Positive doing it another way is no one knows what the hell is happening. So everyone's kind of just doing it their own which way, and it's very, very hard to predict that. So I'm going to work with you on how to make your business predictable. And then we go to the testability part. So testing stuff, trial and error, putting out split tests, A, B, C, and then tracking what happens from those is also how you start to use a fine-tooth comb to, at the end of the week, at the end of the quarter, the month, whatever, scope or parameter you want to look at, what the hell is working, what's not. So you want to be able to track conversion rates of postcard A versus postcard B. How much money is coming in from Cooley, the appointment setter, versus Michelle, the appointment setter, right? What these campaigns are generating you in terms of average deal size, average revenue, average net profit, That is how you get crystal freaking clear on your business as a whole. And then it leads to the optimization of bottlenecks and pipeline in your pipeline that you can blast through by having testability. And then there's the adaptability, the ability to pivot very quickly when things are not going right. Cooley, one example I like to use here is we had a lot of ISAs, inside sales agents, or
Yeah.
appointment setters. We would pay, I'm making this up, but we would pay you 5K a month and myself 5K a month, right? We didn't know very early on in our business if you were returning money and I was in the black with you or in the red with you versus me, I was losing us money, right? So you want to be able to see these figures, see these numbers, see your KPIs, your key performance indicators or metrics sooner rather than later and real time if possible, right? Real time beats anything. It beats the ability to it wins over having to do this in a spreadsheet, for example. And you can make a pivot very quickly. So if me and you are on the ISA track for 3 months and I brought in 50K and cost the company 15 and you brought in 10K and cost the company 15, you're making a very quick realization there that maybe we need to have you trained or put you on a performance review. So that's what that allows you to do. And then it gives you the clarity, kind of moving on down the line here, to know what's important in your business. So you think, for those of you, can I take another poll? Who of you are on Zillow, buying Zillow leads, have ever bought Zillow leads? Might be on Zillow Flex, some of you, I'm not sure. But I had a very eye-opening discussion with someone. So I also, as you guys know, Cooley and Michelle, I talk to a lot of team members, talk to a lot of agents all the time, and you'd be surprised when people think Zillow is returning. But when you really peel back the onion and deep dive, we had to do it manually because it wasn't readily available, but they were spending X and returning negative Y, but it was returning volume, like number of transactions. But when you actually look at the revenue, when they're splitting with Zillow, in some cases, or paying for Zillow, they're splitting with their brokerage, they're splitting with their agent, there's overhead in the business or cost of goods sold. That is where you can get into trouble. Even though Zillow closed at 30K and it's awesome, all these payouts led to single digit returns or net profit to the company, and that's not sustainable. That's not feasible.
And they'll keep doing it and just keep digging that grave, right? Because it's getting them deals, but they don't understand that it's pulling them underwater every single year.
Yeah. And a lot of people that it's not a fun conversation to have, but I think it's necessary because you want to catch that kind of stuff early on. But a lot of people that I have these discussions with after we peel back the onion and see what's really not working, they're shocked, number one, but then they also are like, well, if we can identify this sooner rather than later, I wouldn't have gone down that rabbit hole and made an assumption. The idea here, you guys, is to stop assuming anything about your business. You're going to have cold, hard data to tell you in black and white what is returning and what's not, what's working, what's not, and kind of everything in between.
And I'll,
So
I'll
that leads to,
oh,
sorry.
sorry. I was just gonna jump in. I come from the tech space, not really the real estate space. And like I've worked with CEOs of $3 billion companies and like startups. And this is something that they usually get hung up on, where they like, for example, they'll think, oh, like we don't have enough leads, like we need to do more marketing. And then when you actually start digging into each piece of that lead process, you realize you have plenty of leads. You don't have a team that's working them. Or you're thinking that one of the places that you get your leads from is your strongest, maybe because you're getting the most, but they're the hardest to convert or they aren't actually really good quality leads. So this isn't a real estate problem. This is like a very common across companies of all stages and sizes and types and industries. And somebody who's, a CEO or in that type of a role of a company, including you managing a team, you have to know where to dig in. And the other thing I'll say on the opposite side is like there is this concept of analysis paralysis. So if you're looking at 80,000 metrics trying to understand your business, there's just too many and they're not all important either. And sometimes one that isn't important today may be one you want to look out 6 months from now because something else happened. So this isn't necessarily unique to the business that you guys are in, and it's something that everybody struggles with. And the best CEOs who are running like really well-oiled machines, who can adapt and pivot very quickly, are the ones that are looking at what's important and they understand what's important to their business that's going to drive business.
Right. I'll
And
share a personal story about that point, Amber, with everyone. So back in 2017, we had a pretty sizable operation and we had closed around $3.2 million in revenue that year, which is a lot, right? But we had a team issue that we discovered through what Amber just described, where our agents would, so our team model, you guys, was we would pay for marketing. We had appointment setters, ISAs, set appointments, vet them, put them on the calendars for our agents to go on. Our agents would go on appointments, maybe 5 to 7 appointments a week, and then close one of them. And then we would hear stories or whatever about why the other ones didn't happen or why they didn't close with us. And we constantly heard we have a script problem, a marketing problem. We need to buy Zillow leads. We need to do this lead and that lead. But I thought differently, and I started to implement these automations in my system that I had at the time to track this. So I actually hired a VA to go out into our database and look at every single appointment from that year prior and say which ones closed, but with somebody else, not with us, not with our team. We lost $3.6 million in closed volume in revenue. So we could have had a $7 million plus year, and we didn't. But what we found out was kind of shocking. So our agents on the teams were like, fire Peter, get a new script, do this, do that. But we actually determined that we had a conversion problem and a follow-up problem because I added a button that said lost to competitor. We saw what it sold for on the MLS. We very conservatively did a 2% math problem. And that's where that 3.6 number came from. But then we started to do a spot check and deep dive into random deals that we had lost. And there was a significant amount of them. And our agents on our team never showed any signs of future follow-up past that first appointment and sending maybe 1 or 2 emails. So just by tracking you guys, we found out that our agents were complacent and we put a lost deal report up on our big screen in our end of year or like what we're doing in the next year meeting. And it was super awkward and really weird. And a lot of people got angry because we called a lot of people out on the team. Some people left because of it, but a lot of people stayed. But then we were like, okay, we have a conversion problem. So we focused on conversion for 2 times out of the week. Cooley, we didn't have your breakfast club. So I regret that at the time because that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
you're speaking my language. We did the same thing, and we found out through all this tracking and all the metrics that our top agents were the worst converters in terms of leads. They were the worst. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So yeah, I just immediately identified with everything that you just said.
Yeah, and it made me angry because we were spending a lot of money trying to figure out how to do it, but it was just like volume, 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 volume when we realized it didn't really have to be this crazy volume game. We could focus on less leads, but hey, Amber, if you have an appointment, maybe you follow up with them more than once after the appointment. But Amber didn't care because she would get 5 more appointments the next week. So
Yep.
because of this, you guys, I just shared this story because we quickly saw what was happening and implemented a few rules where you always had to have future follow-up, and we have a report that would tell us when you didn't on a lead. And then you had to be converting at 30% or more or higher to qualify to get an appointment set for you. So once we did that, our conversion rate actually went from, I think we're at like 14% to like 32% or something like that. So when you follow up with people, and Cooley and Michelle, you guys know a lot about this, you close deals. But it was eye-opening and shocking for me and my business partner, Dan, to realize that we were just throwing money in a problem when training was the real problem or conversion was the real problem. So all that said, you guys, kind of leads to the last point here around accountability. be able to hold people accountable and hold your lead sources accountable at the end of the day. That's how you plan. That's how you predict what you want to do in the future. I'll share one other example. So we have a KPI that was interested leads per closed deal. When I left, I was 10.2. So I knew if we wanted to do 100 deals in a quarter, I would need 1,000 interested leads. So what we did is we took the metrics that we had and we just worked our math backwards and said, well, where did we find 1,000 interested leads last quarter, last year, last whatever, right? And then we made a plan and we stuck with the plan. And then as we're automating this in real time and holding ourselves accountable to that plan, we were pivoting and making changes as quickly as we needed to hit those goals.
Hey, Andrew,
Okay.
side note, will you
Yes.
zoom in like substantially? Because I have it all the way large on my huge monitors and the font's tiny. So
Oh,
zoom in,
shoot.
you can
Does
see it.
anyone know how to zoom in on?
Just hit Control Plus. Let's see if it works the same on a Google Sheet.
I have a
Control
Mac.
plus.
It's not working.
Oh,
Go to view.
Right there. Viewers
no.
on it.
Right
Go
where?
Where
Go
it says
left.
100, go
Yeah,
over to
go
the
left.
100 and
Oh,
go
okay.
over
There
more.
There you go.
To make it like
All right,
one.
is that better?
Yes.
Ow.
Yes,
Good.
we can see.
Okay, cool. So hopefully by now you've downloaded this and you can use this as your own personal guide. But we're going to do a little workbook session, and then if there's time remaining afterwards, we'll do a little Q&A. Again, this builds on top of each other, you guys. So it'd be awesome if you can attend each one each week. But we will have the recording available afterwards, just in case you miss it. We'll share all the information with you. So this is a workbook and a guide that we're going to be doing today to capture your high-level insights. We'll start to get an idea of where you are with your numbers and documenting them. And then I'd like to talk about the basic foundation level metrics to be thinking about, just in case you are not. And then we'll start to put together your individual unique roadmap. So as you're doing this and you want to take notes or write down what you're thinking, and if anyone wants to share as well, that would be fantastic. By the end of this, though, we'll walk away with what matters to you from a numbers perspective, a focus on the metrics that drive profit, and then a start of an actionable roadmap to get you on the path to profit, and not just minimal profit, but maximum profit. Okay, so my first question to the group is, what does profit mean to you guys? Can you guys put that in the chat? I just want to know for you, what does profit mean for you personally? And if anyone would like to unmute and share what they mean, what they think profit means, or what they want them to mean to yourself, that would be awesome as well.
Hello?
Don't be afraid, gentlemen. What does profit mean to you?
Profit to
Honest-
me is your, what you've made after all of your operating costs. So whether it's lead generation costs, your time, what you did to procure that client, staging, marketing, anything like that. So once you take all those expenses off, what you have left over.
Yep. Yeah, McKenna, the money after expenses, right? I don't know the situation or the stage or the business model you all have right now. I'd love to learn that over time with each of you individually, but it's the money that comes in, the top line, also referred to top line revenue, any costs of goods sold. So if you have a listing, a cost of goods sold, for example, would be the photos that you take for that particular listing. That expense would not exist if you did not have the listing, and therefore you wouldn't be taking pictures. So you'll talk about those types of expenses as costs of goods sold. And then any overhead that Charlene was talking about. So you pay for a database, you pay for MLS in your region, I'm assuming. Those are their fixed costs. And then any payouts to your team members, if you happen to have team members, VAs, appointment setters, agents. And then what's left over, that is what profit is. So profit originally does not equal revenue. What you keep and stays in your pocket, that's what that's what profit means to us in this case, okay? You want to run a healthy business. A healthy business has healthy profit margins. So that margin, you guys, I alluded to this, or I mentioned this earlier, but let's go off of $1 million gross income. So GCI, gross commission income, that's your top line. Your profit margin let's say at the end of all your expenses and everything is $100,000. That's what you left, right? You have no other expenses to pay after the 100 grand. Therefore, you would have a profit margin that equals 10%. So when I said I took mine from 11.1 to 36.6, that was the number I was referring to. So I took mine from 110 to $360,000. That's the profit margin. That is one of the most, if not the most important metric that I want you to remember. And as you're looking at your P&L, that's where you start your focus and you work your way backwards with the ways I'm going to teach you how to do to increase that profit margin. And just a real quick tip. If you are not looking at your P&L in terms of percentage of income, go into QuickBooks or whatever you guys are using and add that to the report. So it will automatically generate that profit margin percentage for you. And then subscribe to that report and send it to yourself every single week. You should become a master of your numbers, and your P&L is an excellent place to start. I get my P&L for the companies that I run, including the sales team that's still running, every single Friday. My CPA sends me 3-4 different P&Ls. I look at it, I notice trends, I update stuff, and I keep it in an organized manner because of that. So write down your definition of profit in your business and what that means to you. Okay, so I talked about this earlier, but why do numbers matter? Numbers tell the truth. It's point blank, Cooley. If you look at a number and you're tracking it appropriately, you're telling what's working, what's not working. You're not just guessing. I don't know who's made assumptions in the past before on this call. I know I've been guilty of making assumptions about, I think, my top agent, he's closing a lot of deals, Cooley. But then when I actually looked at it, we weren't making enough money to make that a long-term play or a long-term investment or a long-term relationship. So numbers don't lie. And for those of you with ambitions, or maybe you have a team already or ambitions of starting a team, when you have to have hard conversations, and this is where this came into play the best for me personally, I wasn't saying, hey, Cooley, I want you to make less money. I was showing you that the business was, insolvable or not going to be around in the next 6 months unless we made changes to your split, right? Or else we made changes to how you and I had a relationship inside of our company. So if you have the ability to show real tangible data as part of your decision-making processes to your entire team at once or individuals, it's kind of hard to argue that, I guess is an easy way to say it. We're either going to be in business in 6 months or we all make changes and we just work our asses off and work even harder to do more, maybe sell more expensive homes. But this is the situation we're in right now. And here are the numbers that prove that.
Yeah,
Even
I was just gonna,
individually, guys, you guys are making so many emotional decisions, right? Or decisions based on your feelings, And so having the numbers in front of you are really important, because you got to become. Go ahead, Michelle.
I was just gonna say that, yeah, I mean, business is numbers, right? And you always hear us say, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, period. And the struggle for most is they don't. And I think, Andrew, some of the things that you're even talking about right there is when we talk about when you actually know your numbers and you actually are running a business, all of these metrics are leading indicators of like what's coming, what's happening, bad or good. Like it's all leading indicators that lead up to like reality. And just like Cooley said, it's not feelings. Like business doesn't have anything to do with feelings. It's all the reality of what the numbers show, like period.
Yeah. There's nothing else to talk about when you show real accurate numbers in your business. And I always say you don't have a business unless you know your numbers. So this is the start of thinking about what these numbers should look like. So let me ask if you guys can, share on video and just start talking, or in the chat. If you had profit clarity in your business, if you knew consistently that you were generating a certain amount of profit every single week, every single month, every single quarter, what would that mean for you in your life? So your personal life outside of real estate or in your business as well. Can you please share what that means?
Make decisions based off data.
Nick, you're cutting out, but we heard the end there.
You'd be able to, no
I
stress.
think you need to turn the treadmill off, Nick. No one can hear you.
Make investments that give me passive income.
I didn't hear that one either. But
Less
I'm reading.
stress.
Yeah. So
Can
guys,
you hear me now?
imagine if you could consistently know, because you're
Yeah,
looking at
predictability.
trends.
Yeah.
You're predicting, well, you're not really predicting, you're looking at trend analysis. I guess it's predicting it. But if you have dreams of owning doors,
Predictability is the word I was trying to say. Predictability.
Yeah. But if you have ambitions to put X amount into a retirement account for your children, or invest in off-market properties that you have, that's where this comes into play here. So as you start to grow your business and as you start to see these in real time and actually realize it, you can start to make really good life plans, really good business plans. And this is how you go back, like I said before, and start to say, well, what was working last quarter? Oh, that postcard with Cooley's face on it did really, really well compared to the one with Andrew. So let's stop the one with Andrew and send the one with Cooley, but 2x it. And then you're tracking all this stuff. And then that leads to this part right here, the consistent profit coming in. And then if you have a dip, you say, well, why was there that dip? What happened? And then you can go back and look because you're tracking this stuff now. So okay, in the make investments that make me passive income. Yeah, maybe you don't want to do transactional business forever and you just want mailbox money and you want to be able to buy homes. So all really awesome stuff. So this goes into the tracking of who's responsible for a profit, right? At the end of the day, is it you or is it someone on your team? And I think that answer is no one's coming to save you guys. This is something that you have to put the hard work and figure out and build yourself. Owners are accountable just as much as the team members or anyone on the team themselves, including a virtual assistant, including an agent, including an appointment setter. Everyone is accountable, but the buck stops with you, the business owner or the team leader.
That's so powerful, Andrew, and just obviously speaking to, we've got huge team leaders on here and the majority individual solo agents. Like, you are the owner of your business. It starts and stops with you taking responsibility for control of your business.
And I don't mean to scare anyone or be harsh here, but like, no one's coming to save you. So if you've been struggling to operate the business that you want, and you know in your mind deep down inside you can, that gets put on you. You have to be the one to save yourself. So that's what I'm going to help you with. That's what I'm going to help you build out in your business, so you know and can comfortably predict where you need to go in the future. So right now in the chat, or just share, who's currently tracking any type of numbers right now? Is anyone tracking any data in their company? And who is the one tracking it? Are you tracking it, or do you have a VA? Do you have a spreadsheet? I'd love to just hear who is,
I'm paying
where you guys are
attention.
starting.
And I'm paying attention. Who's actually tracking
Jason
any
says
kind of
every
numbers in
December.
their business? Yeah, Jason. For those of you guys who are tracking the amount of contacts, the amount of appointments, the amount of like all of that stuff, how many of you guys are doing that? Should be everybody on this call, right?
So I'll share another really quick personal story. But in 2016, I thought I was cool enough and smart enough to not need a coach in my real estate business, but I finally hired a full-time coach. And one of the most stressful parts of my role on the team was when our coach would come up and spend time with us or ask me about this right here. And he'd say, hey, Andrew, I want to know how many leads you got by lead source, how many appointments were set. And then he went all the way through to say, by lead source and appointment setter and agent, how much revenue came in. And I had no freaking clue where to even find that information, let alone put it together. So I'd be stressed for like 2 or 3 weeks before he would come up. And then he would tear it apart in about 5 minutes and say, this isn't even accurate. I can't trust this enough. So that was super disheartening as well. But then once I started to think about automating all of this and collecting it for me, that's when I got to the point, you guys, where now, if you ask me any piece of info from my company, I'll know what dashboard it's on, what report it is in, and then I can click 2 clicks and say, do you want to know this by month, by quarter, or by year? So click, click, boom, and I have all the information I need in about 30 seconds. So that is where you're manipulating. You'll get to the point where you'll manipulate the data to show you what time frame you need, group it by the person who set the appointment, and that's where you can really expedite the pivoting in your company when things aren't going well, or when they're going well and you want to make them go even better. So next is the how. This is where I want you to start to think about very basic metrics to track. Michelle and Coley, do we have 5 minutes? Are we ending at 3 o'clock? Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes and then we'll hit live Q&A.
Okay. So the how, these are non-negotiables in my book, and what you want to kind of start tracking first. There are a lot of advanced analytics as well, but if you're not doing anything today, take this and create a spreadsheet and start tracking them as best you can. And over time, I'll teach you how to do this a little bit more optimized, automated manner. But lead flow, where your leads are coming from and by what source, if you have multiple sources, the conversion rates of each of those. So you want to know that Zillow is converting at 5% versus PPC converting at 50%. That is super important to where your marketing dollars go. Your costs to acquire a lead, you need to know that. How much are you paying for PPC lead? Right now, my range for PPC that we do in our company is anywhere from 180 to 275, depending on the keyword. We know if we need to get more leads where we should be putting more money, and that's how we know how to do that. Revenue by source and by team member. I've said this a lot on this call, but this is super important, you guys. Where the money is coming from and who it is coming from on your team. For right now, for a lot of you, that might just be you. But as you grow and scale your company, you're gonna need to leverage other agents at some point in your progression, and you need to be able to track what they're doing. Average deal size per transaction. Where's the money coming in? So another really quick story. We do residential listings and buyers and also wholesaling. In about 2020, the year 2020, we started tracking this and we saw that we were netting profit $29,000 per wholesale deal. Our listings were netting us $14,500. We were almost 2xing our net profit from a wholesale point of view versus a residential. So we quickly changed our business model to that model of we're closing the deals faster and making more money. And that was a big change, but we looked at the numbers and the numbers, again, they don't lie. Gross profit margin and net profit margin, we talked about, I think already, but you want to know where you're making the top line all the way through your bottom line, net income or net loss in some cases. That's where you can make a lot of changes as well. So fill this in when you have the time. Start tracking this when you have the time, but start today if you can.
So I was just going to hop in here real quick, Andrew, just for time's sake, and Cooley, we can dig into what else we want to. But just emphasizing for you guys, like how you guys see how important this is, kind of laying out this framework. And a couple of questions that I was getting even directly, I just wanted to highlight this before we kind of recap and do some live questions. Yes, you guys, this is a free series that we are launching. This is something that we've kind of thought out how we wanted to do it. How can we bring Andrew in to provide value into the community? So that live class with him that's going to be asked, as you guys can see, there's going to be a lot of details that go into kind of giving you guys the tactical approach under each one of these parts of the framework that's going to start next Thursday. So I just wanted to, it's going to be part of our training schedule, open to all of you guys to be able to ask a lot more detailed questions as we get into those pieces. Andrew, just for time's sakes, I think people are all still on here. We've still got the full attendance. How much more do you think we want to get through? And then
this is just wrap up, you guys. So I think Q&A may be more important here. They have this. This is just write down what's important to you. Write down your next 3 steps. But this is also the foundation for the subsequent ones to come, like Michelle just said. So please take 10, 20, 30 minutes and really put your heart into this and be honest with yourself about where you are today. And our focus will be on taking where you need to be in the future.
I love that.
I'll stop
bring
sharing.
bring that worksheet to the Profit Engine series when you kick off next week. I think that's what's going to be most important. They've actually spent some time to fill it out put some work into it, thought about their business and their answers, and then bring that worksheet with them. The work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm so grateful, guys, that we've got Andrew here and he's willing to give us his time, not only here, but also with those profit engine classes. We have Dwayne Alexander to thank for that. Believe it or not, Dwayne Alexander cold called Andrew, right? Got him on a meeting with me. Andrew and I were talking, and man, when I was speaking to Andrew, it just felt like he was a big missing piece, right? From what we have at the co-founders group, obviously high in the sales muscles and other things, but Andrew brings his unique experience to our group, and he's making himself available to our group, right? He's stepping up to be a leader in our group. And I know some of you guys are looking at this worksheet like it's in fucking Russian, right? Like I get that. And if you're looking at this like it's in Russian, then what you need to do is fill it out the best you can. And even if you don't understand some of it, just put a question mark next to it, okay? But make sure that you fill it out and don't just look at it and go, this is a spaceship. I don't know how to control it. Fill it out the best that you can and bring it to that profit engine class, because Andrew's going to create the kind of clarity that you need. But I feel like oftentimes in real estate, what we do is the deal is always king, right? That deal that you're trying to close is always king. So what do? You sacrifice your practice, right? You sacrifice your role playing, you sacrifice the stuff that you need to do to actually run a business, guys. And that's why the roller coaster is real for most people in the real estate industry, right? That's why most people never get outside of that production that they're currently doing. And if you want to, and you want to make better decisions, and you want to feel less stressed out all the time, this is something that you take seriously. You plug in, you make the commitment on your calendar to be here every time we have a profit engine class, so that you can make better decisions, have more clarity, and actually have a trajectory, guys. So hopefully all of you guys take that to heart and we do something with that sheet that Andrew gave us. Does anybody have any questions for Andrew? Just right out of the gate, it can be, hey, what are you doing in the Profit Engine series? Can you explain that a little bit more? Or if you need some clarity on this sheet, let's get some questions for Andrew Becker while we have him. Anybody?
For some people who've never worked on their business before, what would be the amount of time they should be putting towards working on their business on a weekly, daily, monthly? So that, because I know a lot of people are instantly going to be like, okay, I need to do nothing other than work on my business. Now I have another excuse not to get business anymore.
Right.
Right.
Are you referring to working in it versus on it, Nick?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, I would say 80-20, the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, I guess 80-20 comes into play. I think part of what I'm trying to teach here is to expedite you all into not having to spend 12, 14-hour days working in your business, Nick. I'm sharing what I learned over 11, 12 years of running and operating a business. So any lessons learned that I can bring to the table so you don't make that mistake, or anyone on this call doesn't make that mistake, is a win in my game, or in my mind. But I spent a lot of time. I spent probably over $400,000 on just the technology that I would use, integrate, build, and then throw away until I got to the tech that we have today. Again, it was kind of the same concept that I taught today, is a trial and error. What works, what doesn't, what's the best one to do, and to continue to do. What's the worst one to get rid of right away. So I don't know if I have a really good answer for you all. My hope, though, is that I can make your amount of time working in the business much shorter by just sharing what I've already learned over the last decade plus.
I just wanted to add something to that, because that series is going to be, it's 1 hour with you, Andrew, every other week, correct?
Yeah.
So you think about that. I always look at, unless we make an intentional plan for it, we don't do it. There's some very significant team leaders on here where there's a lot more to your business than I would say an individual agent. So it might take a more significant blocked out amount of time where your partner, or whether you're the solo leader or there's partners involved, spouses involved, you got to be sitting down for, I would say, even an hour or two a week, putting all of this together, right? But for an individual agent, sorry, I got to mute someone there. An individual agent, If this is something you would have to plan, right? This is something you would block out. And just my advice would be, are you even paying attention or thinking about this? Should be a blocked out time on your schedule. I'm just making this up. Friday at this time, where I spend 1 hour looking at working on my business versus in my business. And that's at least a starting point for like an everyday individual agent, because otherwise you won't do it. If you don't intentionally plan for it, if you don't schedule it, you're not going to do it, and you're just going to keep running in the hamster wheel, and you don't know why you don't get the results you do. So that would be my advice. And obviously for people with bigger operations, trust me, they're setting up more time.
Yeah,
I think the start is also the profit engine class, and the macro time conversation. You know, Michelle, you and I have conversations with agents that we bring on all the time, and leveraging the systems, the tools, the resources that we have, turning their 10-year plan into a 12-month plan, right? The same thing is true with this, right? If we talk about, you know, the things that Andrew's enacting, if you take this seriously, it also has the possibility of taking that 10-year plan and condensing it down into 12, 24 months. You know what I mean? Because it allows you to make decisions a lot quicker. It allows you to, you know, understand exactly where your business is going and project. So I think that, you know, the conversation of how much time should I be spending working on my business, I think first you gotta take the time to understand your business, right? And where it is, and lay the foundation, you know? Then we can talk about exactly how much time we need to allocate, but let's take a look at like what a fucking mess we actually are right now. And then figure out how to clean it up and how much time it's going to take to clean it up.
Yeah, good point. My goal, you guys, and we'll see how this plays out in real life. So, is to teach like a macro tactic, or sorry, a micro tactic for all the macro level stuff that we went over today. So that'll give you 2 weeks to plan on your end and your personal time. Of if it takes you an hour to implement something, then it takes you an hour. But if it takes you 4 hours, then it takes you 4 hours. But you have 2 weeks between classes to take whatever we teach on that class and implement it, and then start to modify it for whatever it is that you're doing. So baby steps. I could throw a lot at you all at once, but then it's going to kind of be overwhelming. So I feel like this might be the appropriate approach here.
I think exactly. Yeah. It's going to give, this is going to give you the next, how many weeks is the series, Andrew? I just blanked on that.
To be determined, Michelle.
Yeah, I think it might evolve, but even you know, we had talked kind of about that time frame, but leverage this live session to be that component where you're going to work on it now every other week and start to put pieces in play. I think that's the perfect stepping stones, which is why we did this as a series. So you guys are going to be walked through piece by piece, because it isn't just a giant seminar you go to with Andrew for 3 hours and great, I figured it out. It's going to be implementable steps, tactics, live questions, and again, shortening that learning curve of this is the difference of taking what someone's already figured out and done all the learning and all the mess ups and spent all the money, and now you can just go replicate.
Ryan McDonald is wearing the Breakfast Club listing juice cold summer t-shirt. I love it. Ryan, you got your hand up. What's up?
Hey, Andrew, how's it going, man? I appreciate everything you shared with us. So when it comes to this sheet, especially section 4, the how portion of it, we're predominantly referral based. And what would you suggest? What would you suggest as far as cost per lead? Like what factors should I take into account when calculating that?
I mean, so referrals, what are you doing to get referrals? Do you spend any money? Are you doing any marketing for the listings? That's what I would probably do. A little tricky. It is a different game, right? It's not apples to apples everywhere. Right. But what expenses are you incurring to get a referral? Are you hosting an open house? Are you buying water or food? That's an expense towards an open house that could potentially lead to a referral, right? Or hosting events. You should, like, what are you doing, Ryan? What do you do?
Well, I mean, we predominantly rely heavily on our client experience. And so just the things that you just said, as far as expenses, as far as like closing gifts, as far as making moments memorable, as far as our whole closing scenario that we do for our clients. We do client events, or we do mixers where like we'll do a huge one. We got our biggest one that we do every year coming up next month, where we have anywhere from 100 to 200 families under one roof, just celebrating them and what they do for us. And so
that's capital getting spent, right?
Yeah.
to do that, which leads to referrals.
Right.
So write a one-to-end list of everything, every cost. If you have a credit card,
Yep.
you know, automate this in QuickBooks. Another thing that I'll be hopefully, teaching you guys is like automating that part, Ryan. So you can set rules in QuickBooks to go into your marketing for events automatically. So then you don't even have to ask me. You can just open up your P&L every week because you're going to subscribe to it. And you're going to see I spent $2,000 on our event last month.
I'll
Right?
tell you this, you definitely encouraged me to light a fire underneath my CPA's behind, because we only look at it once a month. And I'm definitely going to be taking that into account by looking at
Yeah,
that.
man, I'm
Sure.
glad. I mean, I look at mine once a week for my multiple companies that I have.
Yeah.
That's how you should start looking at your business, because if a number goes crazy and your profit goes from 30K to 2, you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
wait a month, maybe you can't turn around from that. Maybe you can. I don't know, but
Can't
that's
stop
how
the
important
bleeding
this
at that
is.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Now, are you also tracking your hours? And do you compensate, like, do you give yourself a base wage and calculate your hours into these figures?
Like hourly rate.
Right.
Like,
Like how many
say
hours it
half
takes you to
it.
do something could be like, was it worth the money?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really big discussion in and of itself. I don't know who asked that, by the way. But Carrie, what you eventually want to do is leverage the low-hanging fruit administrative type tasks, if that's what you mean, like the $5 ones, to a VA through a playbook or an SOP and have them do it. So you, Carrie, can focus on the $500 an hour tasks of revenue generating activities. That's where you all should wind up getting towards. So you shouldn't be putting stuff in the MLS, quite honestly. You shouldn't be scheduling photos. You should have a system and a team to leverage to do that for you. And that's like a $4 virtual assistant offshore that we can
A
talk
lot.
once we get to
Yeah,
that.
and a lot of you guys, like Carrie, we were just having that conversation. A lot of you guys in coaching conversations with Cooley and I, we have you guys do that. Nick, we've had you and Matt do this numerous times, right? Where you're actually tracking, where am I spending my time every 15 minutes throughout an entire day for a week? So you can continue to bridge that gap of, am I spending my time in the best use of my time, and what can I offload to a virtual assistant? And then we've been having that conversation with you guys of how we can help you roll out, set up your virtual assistants to take all of that off your plate.
Yeah, we'll dive deeper into that, but that's the question line of, why am I doing this? Should someone else be doing it? Or do I even want to do it? Do I like doing this? No, I hate putting stuff in the MLS. How can you leverage someone else to get that off your plate? Quite easily. Record a video of you putting a listing into the MLS, write it out. You can use tools like Scribe and Loom to do it on your behalf. Where you just do it and you talk through it. Go out to Upwork, say, I want someone to put listings in an MLS. I'll pay them $3 an hour, $4 an hour, and boom, you have a list of people who will put MLS listings into your software for you.
I think the
That's-
first thing that you have to do is just write down a list and do this for a week, right? Or 2 weeks, and be writing down a list of all of the things that you don't have to be doing, right? Like, do you have to be doing it? Because for one, a lot of us used all of this dumb bullshit as a way to not actually go out there and get clients, right? And so, number one, rid yourself of your excuses, but take inventory of all of the things that you shouldn't be doing. Come up with that list, right? And then calculate exactly how much time that is per week. And I think that you would be shocked. And then if you do the math, right, as all that math meme, right? And then you do the math on, like, if I spent this time creating clients, what would that actually do for me in my business, right? And the answers are shocking. So if you guys need help with getting a VA, DM me or Michelle, and we'll get you hooked up with that. But that should be something that you guys take seriously now. So I love it. Andrew, I want to thank you so much for jumping on this call. I want to thank you even more for committing to be just a part of the co-founders group, right? You know that it's our goal here to provide the ultimate value for real estate agents and make sure that we're not nickel and diming people for bullshit, right? And so this is all coaching, guys, that you're going to get from somebody like Andrew at a very high level, right? And you're not being charged to do it, right? Now, here's a problem with that. The problem with that is when we don't charge you money, you don't see the value in it, right? So you don't show up. And so I want you to understand what a high level person that you guys have at your disposal in Andrew Becker and Amber, and understand that, man, if I really want to grow my business, if I really want to have a business, I need to plug into what these guys are doing, and I need to do it consistently, right? Not just 1 week, but actually schedule it in my calendar and make it a priority. So I want everybody to give a big co-founders welcome to Andrew Becker. By the way, welcome to the group. Thank you so
Welcome,
much for
Andrew.
today.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Welcome
to the group, man.
Thank you.
One
Welcome.
more, one more thing, Andrew. One more thing, Andrew. You guys, Andrew's tied in you guys to our Facebook group, our community, our chats. You guys are all gonna, hopefully we see everybody next Thursday on the 2nd. I also put a PDF version of the workbook there. It'll be posted. That workbook version will be posted with the recording into our back end. Andrew, what is the best way for people to follow you, access you? I did put your Instagram and Facebook just so people can find you there, but what's the best way for people to be attached to you? Is that, I don't know if that was
I mean, I think that suffice for now. I'll
Okay.
share my contact info too with everyone in the follow-up email, so you can have my email, my phone number, text me, call me, reach out.
And how do they find your podcast? I think that's been really valuable. I know some of the big players that were just on there. You just interviewed Hannah Price. Where can they, what's the link? Maybe Amber, you can drop that link. I had someone ask me that too. How to find and follow the
Well, if everyone can like, subscribe, and start commenting, the Google algorithm will push it to the top and it'll start showing organically. But for now, let me see if I can quickly find the link for you and I'll share it.
I posted it.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Awesome. I love it.
Cool.
Cooley, Andrew, Amber, what else? This is great. I know we went 16 minutes over.
That's it.
You guys
Conversion
excited
camp
for
tomorrow at 11 a.m. Guys, with Chris Hardy. Show up for that. Doing the spring objection on the Breakfast Club tomorrow. So let's get after it, guys. There's still time in the day to go out there and get your next client. That next client's likely to pay you $10,000 to $15,000. So don't pack it in for the day. Get out there, get prospecting, get business, and let's go. Have a great day, guys. Thank you so much.
go, guys?
Thank you.
Thanks again, Andrew. Thanks, Amber.
Thanks,
Thank
Andrew.
you.